Welcome to the Franklin County Varsity Sports Report, the only show that provides you with the best insight and information to everything Franklin County sports. And now here's your host, Bobby C.
And hello and welcome to the Franklin County Varsity Sports Report. I'm Bobby C. I hope you're doing well here today. Very excited to be able to be back for yes another week. We have lots of sports that happen throughout the week, and we want to be able to recap what happened last week on our show. Want to say thank you to Franklin First Federal Credit Union. Yes, you know what's great about Franklin First Federal Credit Union? They are open to anyone in Franklin County who would like to open up an account. Go to franklinfirst.org. Also by Manny's TV and Appliance, 2 locations located on River Street in Greenfield and on Route 9 in Hadley. Yes, if you want the best in service and the best in what you're looking for your appliances, it's Manny's TV and Appliance. And by Lisa Alber of Alber Hearing Services, 33 Riddell Street in Greenfield, where she wants to remind you that if you're having trouble hearing, you can contact her at alberhearing.com. All right, let's get right into our show here today. We want to let you know that in girls volleyball last week, Frontier's volleyball team got off to a hot start on Monday as they kept the momentum going throughout their season as they came up with a nice win. They ended up beating Minnechaug. Final was 3-0. Sydney Scanlon dished out 15 assists. Also, Lila Evans ended up with 7 aces and 5 kills. Caroline Dean ended up with 5 kills. Also, Jillian Apanel ended up with 4 aces and 4 kills. Brooke Davis had 6 digs in the win for Frontier. Well, Wacona picked up a win over Mohawk in girls volleyball last week. Final was 3-1. Octavia Crawford ended up racking up the team-high 7 kills as she ended up helping her team in the loss. Also, Ellie Patnote ended up with 4 kills. Palmer King ended up with 7 assists, plus she had 8 aces and 4 kills. Grace Davenport recorded her first kill of the season to go with 3 digs. Alex Lilly, as well as Riley Gerard, they ended up with 4 digs apiece. Athol picked up a 3-2 win over Pioneer in girls volleyball last week. After being in the hole, Athol came all the way back to win 3-2 against the Panthers. Can let you know that Marina Duclos ended up with 14 aces for Pioneer. Also, Olivia Hammond and Aaron Calais ended up scoring 2 aces in the loss. Well, the Franklin County Tech girls picked up a 3-1 win over Greenfield in volleyball. It was Emily Ryan smashing 5 kills, also had an ace to help the Tech school pick up that win over the Wave. Also, Lindley Rollins ended up with 5 digs. Lillian Poirier ended up with 2 kills and 5 assists. Also, Cordelia Guerin ended up with 3 aces and 2 kills in the win for the Franklin County Tech. Now, Charisma Santana, she ended up with 7 kills and 6 aces for the Green Wave. Kelsey Richardson ended up with 6 kills and 5 digs, also had 6 aces. And Rachel Dodge ended up with 2 kills, 6 assists, and 7 aces for Greenfield. Well, there was a soccer game that happened on Monday for the Franklin County Tech girls. They took on Hopkins. Final score was Hopkins 7 and the Tech nothing. But Emily Merritt ended up recording 20 saves for the Tech school in the loss. Also, Amherst picked up a win over Frontier in girls soccer last week. Final was 1-0. In boys soccer, it was Granby with a 6-0 win over Pioneer. Can tell you that Will Glazier ended up with 3 saves for Pioneer, including a penalty shot that he was able to stop. Also, St. Mary's picked up an easy win with a 9-3 win over the Franklin County Tech. I want to talk about a very good soccer program. St. Mary's does have that. The visiting Eagles got off to a pretty strong start, though, as they were able to tie the game, where Sam LaTour ended up scoring a goal at the 13th minute. And then all of a sudden, things got a little tougher for them. But I want you to know that the nice thing is they got a guy on this team for the Tech school who's had a great year so far, and that is David Kempler. And I must say that he has had a very solid year for the team so far. Also, Ware picked up a 6-0 win over Mohawk. The Mohawk boys soccer team really struggling this year. But Logan Brothers, boy, I'll tell you right now, that kid has been working hard like a workhorse inside the net for Mohawk. He ended up with 9 saves in the loss. Well, the Franklin County Tech girls field hockey team is off to a wonderful start, and they ended up picking up a 2-0 win over Pioneer last week. Hannah Gilbert continued her strong season for their team. She buried a pair of goals to keep the Eagles unbeaten. Yep, that's right, they're unbeaten on the season. Caitlin Trudeau notched an assist for the Tech. Also, Kelly Baird ended up making 6 saves in the net for Pioneer. Well, it was an easy win for Southwick as Southwick knocked off the Mohawk girls. Final score was 9-0 in field hockey. Well, in boys soccer last week, it was Smith Vocational taking on Mohawk. Final score was Smith Voc 8 and Mohawk nothing. But Logan Brothers ended up with 7 saves for Mohawk. Also, Connor Herzik had a chance to be able to get in net for a little bit as well. He ended up with 2 saves. Girls soccer last week, Pope Francis picked up a 4-0 win over Greenfield as Michaela Valente ended up with 31 saves in an impressive performance in the goal for Greenfield. Unfortunately, they got beat by a very good Pope Francis team. Smith Academy ends up continuing their winning ways. They're undefeated on the season as they knocked off the Franklin County Tech girls. Final score was 7-0. Tech goalie Emily Merritt ended up with 15 saves in the net for the Tech school. In field hockey, Greenfield picked up a big win over Minnechaug. Final score was 1-0, tied 0-0 with 27 seconds left in the third quarter. And Bree Widello ended up finding the net, and she ended up getting it assisted by Maddie Kacheski. And there you have it. Greenfield picked up that 1-0 win over Minnechaug last week. Ainsley Flynn ended up with 4 saves in the victory for the Green Wave. Westfield had an easy time with Turners Falls in field hockey last week. Final score was Westfield 8, Turners Falls 1. Brooke Fair ended up getting the lone goal, assisted by Hannah Marhefka. She ended up getting the assist in the loss for Turners Falls. Frontier dropped a really tough one to South Hadley. South Hadley scored with just about 5 minutes left in the game. Final score was 1-0. They ended up losing that game. Frontier, a tough one. And I got to tell you, there's another team that has done very well this year, is the Frontier girls field hockey team. Between them, Franklin County Tech, and also Greenfield, that's a really good sign. Well, in boys golf, it was Turners picking up a 19-5 win over Mohawk. And Joey Mosca ended up being the medalist. He ended up with a 38 to help Turners Falls with that win. Also, Reese Elwell ended up with a 53. Also, Braden Talbot ended up with a 55. They each were able to score points for their team. Jackson Day with a 51. Grady Deary with a 53. They picked up 3 points apiece. Logan Moore ended up with 3 points for Mohawk Trail in the loss. Also, Phineas Tupman ended up with a 54. Gage Patnode ended up with a 59. They each got a point in the loss for Mohawk. Well, Hampshire ended up picking up a win in golf over Frontier. Final was 14.5 to 9.5 as Ryan Seto ended up with a team low 46 for Frontier, but it was all Hampshire regional in this one as they were able to solidly get enough points to be able to pick up the win. Kevin Bauman ended up with a 47. Also, Alex Kaczynski with a 51. Cam Skiffington with a 51. Shane Prusak ended up with a 56. Also, Robert Fuqua ended up with a 59, rounding out Frontier's golfers. Also, Southwick picked up a win over Greenfield. Dylan Archer shot a 44. Johnny Marhefka with a 52. Hugh Syhowski recorded a 59, and Matt Lavoine with a 60. But it wasn't enough as Southwick picked up the win. Well, last week, Hopkins Academy took on Pioneer in girls soccer. Haley Ring scoring the only Panther goal in the 22nd minute in the 5-1 loss to Hopkins. Also in boys golf, Frontier picked up a 14.5 to 9.5 win over Ware. Kevin Bauman's 43 was the one that ended up getting his team 4 points. That was the way to seal the deal in this one. Also, Ryan Seto with a 40, Cam Skiffington with a 49. They each had 3 points for Frontier. Robert Fuqua ended up with a 49. He got 3.5 points in the number 6 spot. Alex Kaczynski shot a team low 39. Shane Prusak ended up with a 47 in the victory. Well, Pioneer picked up a 20.5 to 3.5 win over Hopkins Academy. Jalen McGraw, he was your match medalist with a 40. Braden Thayer with a 41. Ethan Mothy ended up with a 48. Ben Werner with a 54. Mike Stennens ends up with a 53. 4 points right there on those guys as Pioneer picked up the easy win against Hopkins Academy. Well, in girls volleyball, it was the Frontier volleyball team rolling through the early portion of the season as the Red Hawks improved to undefeated at 3-0 with a easy win. They ended up sweeping Amherst 3-0. Frontier is yet to even drop a set this year. That is pretty cool. Sydney Scanlon distributed 23 assists to go along with 3 kills and 3 aces in the win. Lila Evans and Elise Fredericks end up with 6 kills. Eve Dugan ended up with 5 kills. Jillian Appanell, 7 aces for the Red Hawks. Well, Mohawk picked up a 3-0 win over Athol as Palmer King was unstoppable in the service station for Mohawk. How about 21 aces on the day for her? Wow, that's pretty impressive. As they picked up that victory, Ellie Patnode with 7 kills, 5 aces. Octava Crawford ended up with 6 kills, 5 aces, and 8 assists. Turners Falls picked up a win as they continue their winning ways. They knocked off East Hampton in volleyball. Maddie Lamatanian and Taylor Green, well, they put on a show. How about Lamatanian with 20 kills, an ace, and also a block on the day? Taylor Green, she ended up with 22 assists and 10 aces. Abby Holloway ended up with 4 kills, also an ace to lead Turners Falls in that victory. Also in field hockey last week, it was East Long Meadow with a 6-0 win over Mohawk. I can tell you that it was a solid day for Sophia Gritzner. She ended up with 17 saves in the net for Mohawk. Well, it was a tough one for the Franklin County Tech boys. They lost a tough game to the Pioneer Valley Christian School. Final score was 1-0 in boys soccer. Also in girls soccer, it ended up being Frontier picking up a 3-0 win over Sabas. Well, in golf, we want to let folks to know that the Pioneer boys team has really been able to keep things going as they picked up an 18-6 win over Greenfield. What a stellar performance from Ben Werner. He ended up at the number 5 spot, giving his team 4 points. He ended up with a nice 42. That was a solid, nice round for him. Jalen McGraw for Pioneer ended up with a 45. Ethan Mothy ended up with a 47. Braden Thayer with a 49. They all scored under 50. Also, Greenfield's Dylan Archer was the match medalist with a 41. He ended up picking up 3 points for Greenfield. It wasn't enough, though, and Johnny Marhefka ended up with 2 points at the number 3 spot with a 54. Well, Mohawk Trail ended up knocking off McCann Tech. Final score was 22.5 to 1.5 as Ben Thompson's round of 43 ended up topping the day as Mohawk cruised to a victory over at Edge Hill Golf Course. And I can say that Phineas Tupman ended up with a 55. He ended up with 3.5 points. Gage Patnode with a 55. Also Oliver Johnson with a 57. Logan Moore with a 57. Austin Parker with a 60. All won their matches for the Warriors. Well, in girls cross country, it ended up being a tri-match. It was between Frontier, Munson, and also Hampshire and even East Hampton. They all got together to be able to get this cross-country meet in. Frontier ended up beating Munson 16-47. They ended up beating Hampshire 25-32 and a forfeit win over East Hampton. By the way, want to let you know that in cross-country, it's like golf. Low score wins. So just don't want you to think that I ended up screwing that up. It's low score in cross country. Abigail Howard ended up taking second overall, crossing the finish line at 21 minutes. Also, Salvi DiPartolano, she ended up with a time of 21 minutes and 22 seconds. Leah Gump took sixth. She ended up also being able to get a time of 21 minutes and 49 seconds. Sadie Ross placed eighth, 22 minutes and 8 seconds. Pioneer ended up doing well against the Pioneer Valley Christian School. They picked up a 24-35 victory as Brianna May ended up leading the way for Pioneer as she was able to place second overall with a time of 18 minutes and 41 seconds. Lucy Coster ended up placing third. Also Sam Baldwin fourth And also another person that placed in the top 10 included these folks: Nina St. Clair, Allison Cleary, also Charlotte Strawn, and Maya Shaw. They all placed in the top 10 for Pioneer. Well, there ended up being a cross-country match that was done for the boys as Frontier, Munson, East Hampton, and Hampshire all got together. Frontier picked up a victory over Munson, 26-29. That was a good one. Also, Frontier wins over East Hampton, 17-44. And Hampshire ended up beating Frontier, 19-44. Luke Howard, he had a solid one. How about third place for him for Frontier with a time of 17 minutes and 25 seconds? And also, we want folks to know that the Pioneer Valley Christian School ended up getting into a tri-match with Pioneer and Smith Voke, as the Pioneer Valley Christian School ended up beating Pioneer 18-43. Smith Voke ended up beating Pioneer 22-33. Sam Bodenstein had a great performance for Pioneer. He took third with a time of 16 minutes and 27 seconds. Also, Maddox Weigel joined him in the top 10. He ended up placing 10th with a run of 18 minutes and 22 seconds. Also in boys cross country, it was Mohawk, Greenfield, McCann Tech. They all got together. Mohawk ended up beating Greenfield 27-30. Also, they beat McCann Tech 19-36, and Greenfield beat McCann Tech 18-41. Dennis Simmons, well, he ended up literally capturing easily first place. He had a time of 14 minutes and 50 seconds. Also, the Warriors ended up having top 3 individual spots, including Vincent Gauthier. He was second place at 16 minutes and 37 seconds. Also, Sean O'Day ended up third with a time of 16 minutes and 38 seconds. Greenfield's Ethan Bross ended up in fourth. Also, teammate Andy Bostrom was fifth for Greenfield. Oh, all right, let's keep it going here. Frontier ends up picking up a nice victory over West Springfield, and an opportunity for them to be able to pick up a victory in girls field hockey, as Lila Roach ended up finding the back of the net, and she did it twice, as Frontier picked up a very important win that they needed. Ella Flanders ended up with 2 saves to post the shutout for Frontier. In boys soccer, it was Frontier picking up a 2-1 victory over Wacona, as Dante Reggiano netted the eventual game winner with the 40th minute. That's right, it took the 40th minute for them to get that win. Also, Tyler Dubriel, who's the transfer from Mohawk over to Frontier, he also had a nice solid start to his season, as he was able to get one as well. So him and Reggiano ended up scoring. Brady Birch ended up with an assist. And by the way, I must tell you that this Frontier team is literally a rebuilding program from a couple of years ago when they were pretty solid. Also in girls soccer, we want to let folks know that Pathfinder picked up a 6-0 victory. It was 6-0 over the Franklin County Tech. Also, we want you to know that St. Mary's picked up a 5-0 win over Greenfield, as Michaela Valente ended up with 14 saves for the Green Wave in the loss. In golf, it was Mohawk Trail with a 15.5 to 8.5 victory over St. Mary's, as Ben Thompson ended up setting the tone. He had a 48 for Mohawk. Also, Phineas Tupman and Logan Moore, they shot 53s. They picked up 3 points apiece for their team. Oliver Johnson with a 59 ended up with 4 points for Mohawk in the win. Well, in field hockey, it was East Long Meadow with an easy win over Turner's Falls. Final score was 8-0. David Stowe ended up with 10 saves in the net for Turner's Falls in the loss. Also in girls cross country last week, it was Mohawk taking on Greenfield and McCann Tech in another tri-match. I can tell you that Mohawk ended up picking up that victory 15-50. They also beat McCann Tech 18-48, and then McCann Tech beat Greenfield 15-50. Ellie Pinkham ran away with the pack. Oh, yes, she has been solid for Mohawk this season. She ended up doing very well with a time of 19 minutes and 58 seconds. Candace Liu ended up getting second place, and she was literally over a minute behind the time of Pinkham. She ended up with a time of 21 minutes and 11 seconds. Also, Valerie Zoranowski ended up placing third for Mohawk. Greenfield's Ava Fortin with fourth place. Also, after that, the next 5 spots were all Warriors. And that's Natalie Lanou, as well as Savannah Simmons, Sierra Upton, as well as Bella Pennington. They all round out the top 10. In field hockey, it was Greenfield picking up a 2-1 victory over Agawam, and this turned out to be something very important for this team. And really what happened in this one is Greenfield struck twice in the third quarter to be able to pick up the win, as Maddie Kacheski got the first goal to be able to get things going for her team, and she was assisted by Bree Widello. Then Widello scored the game winner. It was a nice corner with no time on the clock in the third quarter. And Ainsley Flynn was able to make a couple of saves to save the victory for Greenfield as they picked up the win 2-1. Also in field hockey, it was Belchertown. I must say, they ended up beating one of the teams from South Hadley. Final score was 1-0. Also, we want to let folks know that we have Belchertown with an easy win over Frontier in soccer. That's right, in golf, as 4 players broke 50 with rounds on Tuesday. Frontier's golf team really struggling this season, but I will tell you, though, Belchertown has one of the better teams for the golf in this area. Them and Munson are pretty much the top 2. So we want folks to know that these teams that are beating Frontier are very, very good. Shane Prusak ended up with a 44, as well as Ryan Seto. They combined to be able to get the 2 points that they needed on the day. Alex Kaczynski with a 45 and Cam Skiffington with a 48 in the loss for Frontier. In girls soccer, it was Frontier picking up a 3-1 victory over Sabas. You know, they were tied 1-1 at halftime, but then it got broken open in that second half as Michaela Santos scored the first Frontier goal at the 39th minute, assisted by Anna Petrin. Then Caroline Crocker put them ahead on the 49th minute with an assist from Hannah Mackin. And Isabel Marapizzi, she ended up converting a penalty kick at the 78th minute to seal the deal as Frontier picked up the victory. Candace Wells Robinson ended up with 1 save in the net for Frontier. Well, football, we always talk about football season. We don't have many teams around here anymore. We are only down to 3 local teams. Well, Greenfield ended up taking on Belchertown. Greenfield starting off their season very well. You know, after all the talent they lost last year, they weren't really sure what the team was going to be like this year. But so far, so good. It was a great start for Greenfield's defense in the game. Belchertown, I must say, they found out what a real defense is, because this Greenfield D really puts a lot of pressure on all the teams that they play. Matter of fact, Greenfield made it 10-0 late in the first half as David Carey tossed a screen to Brendan Driscoll to pick up a touchdown, and also they were able to get a safety in this one. You know, with 23 seconds left in the third quarter, David Carey ran it from 6 yards out, followed by a 2-point conversion run by Ryan Polzeri, and then all of a sudden the Wave was up 18-8. Well, the momentum shifted following a David Carey fumble, which was returned by Belchertown to cut the lead to 18-14, and that was with 10 minutes and 10 seconds left to play. Well, Greenfield's coach Mike Kacheski couldn't have scripted a better final drive for the Green Wave on Friday night, and this is exactly what they did. They ended up moving the ball slowly, getting it up the field, and taking precious minutes off the clock. 14 plays and 4 first downs later, Greenfield, they took 8 minutes off the clock, and not only that, but David Carey dropped back. He hit Driscoll with a nice slot pass that ended up being in the end zone, and the Wave secured the 24-14 win. And with 1 minute and 43 seconds left, they were able to run out the clock with great defense, and the Wave picked up the win. They will take on Frontier. That game will be played on Friday night. Well, Palmer ended up handing it to Frontier, and I'll tell you, it was all Palmer in this one last week. Frontier really struggled their early setbacks and mistakes, and that's what really cost them the game. This is what hurts in any game. 3 fumbles, 4 penalties, multiple uncontrolled snaps. That was a huge problem for their team. And unfortunately, they were not able to get it done, and they got beat on the road in Palmer 25-6. Also, we want folks to know that Chicopee took on the Franklin County Tech School, the other football game that they had last week. Chicopee 14, the Tech School nothing. Holding a 6-0 lead late, Chicopee ended up putting up their second touchdown with 5 minutes and 26 seconds left to play to seal the deal. Joe Gamache pretty much laid it out on how it was, saying that his team wasn't able to offensively get things done. He said they battled, they didn't quit, but overall, we need to do a better job at executing going forward. Josiah Little ended up with a few nice runs for the Eagles, while Logan Call and Chad Adams played well defensively in the loss for the Tech School. In boys soccer, it was Greenfield with a 4-2 win over Pioneer. Trailing 1-0 at the half, Greenfield boys team, they really lit it up in the second half. The final 40 minutes turned out to go their way with that victory. And really, Henry Zakara, he ended up getting Greenfield going. He scored twice in the first 11 minutes of the second half to really give his team what they needed, and that was that 2-1 lead. Then Jared Hubbard ended up tying it with a goal for Pioneer. Also, Theo Pop from Greenfield ended up leading the way with a goal at the 72nd minute. Zakara nailed it in the coffin on the 78th minute. He got a hat trick on the day. Ethan Quinn had the other goal for Pioneer. Once again, Greenfield 4, Pioneer 2. Also, another thing we want to let folks know, there was a game that was happening also last week between Smith Academy and Pioneer, where Smith won 3-0. Also, Pathfinder ended up beating the Franklin County Tech in boys soccer. Final was 7-0. In girls soccer, it was Frontier and East Hampton girls. They had a 1-1 tie. Also in field hockey, the Franklin County Tech girls continued their winning ways with a 5-1 win over Athol. That's right, they have been solid this season, and their coach, Ryan Lovett, says that this was a really good team win. Everybody stepped up when they needed to. We were tested more than we have been in some other games this season. Right now, that team is sitting at 4-0 on the year. Well, Mohawk ended up picking up a 5-1 victory. That was a nice job for them in field hockey, as Maya LaSure ended up being the solid player for her team, as she scored 2 goals in the first quarter, 1 in the third, and 1 in the fourth, ended up with 4 of the 5 goals for Mohawk in that 5-1 win. Hannah Marhefka, well, she was the one who got the goal for Turner's Falls, and Paige Schulda, she ended up getting the assist. Volleyball, Frontier 3, Long Meadow 1. Also, in volleyball, Turner's picked up a 3-0 win over Athol. Also, Mohawk with a win over the Franklin County Tech 3-0. Also, in golf, it was the Franklin County Tech with a win over East Hampton, 21.5 to 2.5. And Ware ended up beating Frontier, 17.5 to 6.5. Well, there you have it. That is our Franklin County Varsity Sports Report for another week. You're all updated on what's happening. We do it right here on Greenfield Community Television. Also, don't forget about the other outlets we have as well. We have the FCAT down in South Deerfield. Also, Montague Community Television. Don't forget about Berniston Northfield Community Television. They carry us as well. I want to say thank you for tuning in. I'm Bobby C. Thank you to my producer, John Meisner. Johnny M. is back in the house. We finally are in studio. Thank you to Franklin First Federal Credit Union, to Albert Hearing Services, and Manny's TV and Appliance. Until we meet again, you have yourself a wonderful week, and remember to support your local athletes. One last quick announcement that I would like to make that I think is very important is we want to make sure that people know that you can go to Channel 17 on your TV for Greenfield Community Television, in 15, it depends where you are in certain areas, to be able to catch our show and look for the listings that are available. And you know, the nice part about this is we've had the opportunity to be able to be here live right here with you guys to be able to start our show recording, and we appreciate it.
Thanks for watching the Franklin County Varsity Sports Report on GCTV. Catch a game and be sure to join us next time for more sports and fun.